mansions of the Grand Blanc, where the mademoiselles had their own instruments because they could not use the ones the mulatto girls touched. I learned to clean the keys with lemon juice, but I could not make music because Madame Delphine forbade us to go near her clavichord. We didn't need it. Honoré could draw music from a cook pot. Anything in his hands had beat, melody, rhythm, and voice. He carried sounds inside his body. He had brought them from Dahomey. My toy was a hollow gourd we made to rattle. Later he taught me to caress his drums slowly, and from the beginning, when he was still carrying me around in his arms, he took me to dances and voodoo services where he marked the rhythm with his drum, the principal drum, for others to follow. This is how I remember it. Honoré seemed very old to me because his bones had frozen stiff, even though at the time he was no older than I am now. He drank tafia in order to endure the pain of moving, but more than that harsh rum, music was the best remedy. His moans turned to laughter with the sound of the drums. Honoré barely could peel sweet potatoes for the mistress's meal, his hands were so deformed. But playing the drum, he never got tired. And when it came to dancing, no one lifted his knees higher or swung his head with more force or shook his behind with more pleasure. Before I knew how to walk, he had me dance sitting down. And when I could just balance myself on two legs, he invited me to lose myself in the music the way you do in a dream. Dance, dance, Zarete. The slave who dances is free while he is dancing, he told me. I have always danced. Part 1. Saint-Domingue, 1770 to 1793. The Spanish illness. Toulouse-Valmorin arrived in Saint-Domingue in 1770, the same year the Dauphin of France married the Austrian Archduchess Marie Antoinette. Before traveling to the colony, when still he had no suspicion that his destiny was going to play a trick on him, or that he would end up in cane fields in the Antilles, he had been invited to Versailles to one of the parties in honor of the new Dauphine, a young blonde of 14 who yawned openly in the rigid protocol of the French court. All of that was in the past. Saint-Domingue was another world. The young Valmorin had a rather vague idea of the place, where his father struggled to earn a livelihood for his family with the ambition of converting it into a fortune. Valmorin had read somewhere that the original inhabitants of the island, the Arawaks, had called it Haiti before the conquistadors changed the name to La Española and killed off the natives. In fewer than 50 years, not a single Arawak remained, nor sign of them. They all perished as victims of slavery, European illnesses, and suicide. They were a red-skinned race, with thick black hair and inalterable dignity, so timid that a single Spaniard could conquer 10 of them with his bare hands. They lived in polygamous communities, cultivating the land with care in order not to exhaust it. Sweet potatoes, maize, gourds, peanuts, peppers, potatoes, and cassava. The earth, like the sky and water, had no owner until the foreigners, using the forced labor of the Arawaks, took control of it in order to cultivate never-before-seen plants. It was in that time that the custom of killing people with dogs was begun. When they had annihilated the indigenous peoples, the new masters imported slaves, blacks kidnapped in Africa, and whites from Europe, convicts, orphans, prostitutes, and rebels. At the end of the 1600s, Spain ceded to France the western part of the island, which they called Saint-Domingue.